Hello everyone! Welcome to a playthrough of the popular color computer title, Sailor Man. I am Amigo Aaron, not a sailor myself, but I play one in video game form. Tonight, we're going to take a look at a game that's very popular amongst people that own a CoCo. We covered this on this month's CoCo Show podcast, which is a new show myself and John, Boat of Carshaw, put together, where every month we'll cover a couple CoCo games just for fun. Have a good time with them, talk about them, try to dig some stuff up on them when we can. And so I thought as a companion piece, we're going to try to play some of these games. So tonight we're going to give the Sailor Man a shot. I've got my trusty Color Computer 3 here, the old TRS-80 Tandy Color Computer 3. I've got my trusty Wicco stick, the best stick ever made, that I've got hooked up to the CoCo via some adapters to go to a standard Atari style joystick. So we're gonna have some fun. So let's get it going here, shall we? As you can see here, I've got my SD card solution loaded up. We're just gonna roll over here. I'll take you through the entire process here. I've got to tell you that I had a color computer as a child, and I have been enjoying the heck out of having this thing back. I picked this up on a big score from one of the Carolinas a couple months ago. And if you look at our Amigos Retro Gaming channel, you can see I videotaped me as I opened the boxes to look at all this stuff. So let's give this a whirl. Sailor Man, a very popular title, as I mentioned. It was done by a fellow named Chris Latham. He was also responsible for Donkey King on the CoCo, which is another great popular title. And this was the first game released for the CoCo that required 64K memory. So that's kind of neat. All right, now here's the old. Now I wish every screen did this, where you can pick. A lot of times you have to hit the reset. Although I've been recently told a trick that if you hold down F1 and hit reset, you will automatically have it flip over. So we're gonna hit the clear button here. This is one of those crazy quirks about the CoCo. I've never fully understood why it's like that, but who am I? So you can see here what you've got here is a beautiful rendition of Popeye for the CoCo. Now, Popeye, a tremendous game from the people at Nintendo back in the day. But you know, it's it was a long time ago. That's for darn sure. You know, the original Donkey Kong was actually supposed to be a Popeye game, ironically, but they couldn't get the licensing for it, and so they lost out, unfortunately. I'm going to turn this down a little bit here. Alright, now let's go into the options menu here, because this game has a lot of really good options. Okay, here. Now, amongst the many things you can pick from here, 1 or 2 player standard stuff, but this game has so much more. It also has the ability to switch levels whenever you want. It's got the ability to actually play invisible levels, which I always thought was really neat. Let me turn that down low here. It's got quite a soundtrack there. Anyway, you can also change the difficulty between players, which is awesome. I mean, that's a great feature because if you're playing with, like, I play with my son, and it makes it a lot easier for him to play with me. We can both play at the same time. So we're just going to take a standard game here. We just hit enter, and we will get to it. Now, I'm going to play one standard game, and then I'm going to actually play a game with increased difficulty. So here we go. Because you have to sort of increase the difficulty to fully grasp the brilliance of this game. Now, if you're an old guy like myself, you'll recall this game, and you'll recall it was ported to a multitude of systems. And the problem is, a lot of the systems did not have even close to the entirety of the content of the game, which always bothered me. Even on systems that you would consider sort of, I don't want to say next gen because it's a long time ago, but you know what I mean, just more advanced systems than the CoCo, I guess, would be. Man, the C-Hack's going to work here. Anyway, so when this came out, I was literally stunned. I could not freaking believe how incredible and how impressive that they'd made this. I mean, it's got so many features, and it behaves so much like the arcade game, and really that's the name of the game. Now, granted, is it as colorful as the Nintendo Classic? Certainly not, as you can tell. But what you get for your money here is arcade. I'm not gonna say arcade perfect, because that gets thrown around a lot, and we all know that really no home versions are arcade perfect. But you get something that's just outstanding. And really, if you were a fan of the arcade, you've heard people talk about bringing the arcade home. I mean, this is literally. I was totally satisfied when I played this game as a port, because it was so close. It had almost every feature from the arcade that I remembered. Oh, there we go. I'm on fire. Now I've always been a fan of Donkey Kong, and so I have a soft spot just because that Donkey Kong was almost Popeye. Oh shoot, that was bad luck. One wonders how history would have changed if the Nintendo license had went through, and instead of having Mario, or Jumpman as he was known, you had Popeye and Olive Oil. It would be quite a different story. Now, it makes you wonder if history would have been radically changed. It's amazing to think about. But anyway, this was a Tom Mix game that Latham did. And Tom Mix, they were responsible for so many of the games I played, including Monkey King and a ton more, Buzzard Bait and a bunch more. And I've tried to do some research on them, and they're not the easiest company to look anything up on. I mean, I know they operate on both sides of the ocean here, but I haven't found out very little, so it's going to be sort of my ongoing mission. I'm sure there are people out there that are more immersed in the CoCo scene, probably would know a lot more about it than I do, but it's something that it does interest me. I'd be interested in knowing exactly who ran it and what happened to them. Because, I mean, they seem to be the ipso facto, especially when it came to really good quality clones. I mean, they did a lot of good stuff. So this level right here separates this game from a lot of other games, and that being that it's here. I mean, I'm telling you, most of your home ports didn't have this level, or the third level for that matter, and it's astounding to me that they managed to get this game with all the levels in it and make it work on the CoCo. It's quite remarkable, especially, I mean, this is not a CoCo 3 game. I mean, we're playing on a CoCo 3, but it's a CoCo 2 game. If you'll recall, a lot of CoCo 2s shipped with 64K, and so having that be the game's, let's see if we can get out here before that note goes down. Having this be the game's primary memory use, I mean, there's no way you could have done it on less, I don't think. So, I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal. I always wondered how well these games sold. I mean, who can tell? I mean, and I don't even know how rampant the piracy scene was on the CoCo. I mean, I grew up mostly with the PC, and then eventually I had an Amiga, and of course piracy was super widespread. But I don't know how much these things were being pirated, to be honest with you. So who could say? I'm guessing it wasn't too difficult to pirate stuff on the color computer. I mean, I had a ton of pirated stuff, almost everything I owned, and of course I was a kid at the time. I'll plead that. But there was nowhere to buy any of this stuff. I mean, with the exception of ordering out of the back of magazines, you were pretty much boned. Now, this is the third level. Again, this is you normally would not see this level. And one thing that Latham did is, aside from the fact that, yes, he put all the elements of the game in there, he also put good music in and whatnot, but he also he got the feeling of the game. And something else that's real important is he actually got the dimensions of the game well done. I mean, the levels play out right on the screen. Now, Popeye was a horizontal game, as I recall, and so that helps. It's a lot easier to do that than, say, do a Galaxian or something like that, where you're talking about a vertical game. But you've got a lot. The resolution's a lot different. You're playing with a lot of. You've got a lot more limitations, and he really did a good job. And I'll mention he did the same thing on Donkey King. I'm a real stickler for my Donkey Kongs. Like, I own a Donkey Kong, the arcade game. I've got one out in the arcade. So I mean, I'm pretty particular about it, and the CoCo. I remember when I first saw that, it blew my mind. I was like, holy smokes, I can't believe this. It was a really good game. Now you saw right there, big fat bad guy jumped. That's the first time he's done that since we've been playing. Now if you play at a higher level, he's a lot more active, which we'll look at one here in a second. So you can see him actually. He does a bunch of stuff, and it's funny until recently, because I never really played this game at higher levels back when I was a kid. Until recently, I didn't know what he was capable of, and I learned. He can do a lot. Let's see if I can catch him here. Yep, there he goes. He can do a lot of damage, and they've animated him. I mean, they did a great job. And here we go with the final sequence. I love the tunes. You've got multi-voiced tunes there. Very nice to go along with everything else. So now it ramps back around. Now we're going to go up to, which we always start at level 4 by default. So this would be, I guess, I would assume this would be your level 5 difficulty if I went and set it to that. Now you can see the little smiley faces coming out there. And they are irritating, to say the least. And you get a couple of those. Oh, shoot, I thought I was turning the other way. You get a couple of smiley faces in your path, plus Bluto, plus the Sea Hag. You got problems, big problems, because you've got a lot of projectiles coming at you. Something else I noticed recently when I was playing, I was really boning up on this game for the podcast, was that Bluto, in the arcade, Bluto can throw bottles. And I'd never seen him do it in this. Again, I'd never played it on the higher levels, and sure enough, he will chuck empties, as the ad says. I should mention that the ad for this is one of the all-time great ads in the history of gaming. I had to go to Rainbow and find it and fish it out, because it's funny, I couldn't find just a picture. I had to go look through magazines to find it. I was surprised, because because it's sort of notorious in a way. I've heard other people make reference to it, but they are very the people that put this ad together were very coy in the way they advertised it. And what they did was, instead of being talking about Brutus and Olive Oil and the Sea Hag and a Wimpy, it was Elsie was his girlfriend, and the bad guy, and it's called Big Fat Bad Guy. The Sea Hag is referred to as I think something like old sea woman, and instead of throwing bottles, they chuck empties. I know that's one of my favorites. Chuck empties at you. And everyone has a real comical name. And, of course, the favorite one of the bunch is that Sailor Man doesn't eat spinach. He eats collard greens. And they're marked S for collard greens. One of the all-time great bits in ads. I had to dig it up to put it on our channel's Discord. Which, by the way, we pick our games. We don't pick our games. Our Discord, our Patreons pick our games for us. And amongst the rewards you get for helping support the show, you get to pick the games we play. So we actually picked this first batch, and I doubt we'll ever pick any more games again. We'll probably have all of them picked. I know there's a lot of people that watch or listen to our other shows. We also host a few other shows. We do a show called the Amigos, Everything Amiga Podcast, which has been around for a good while. And we also do, myself and my brother, the Brent, do a show called ARG Presents, where we randomly play just games from different systems. We actually covered the CoCo on there at one point. And my brother also grew up with the CoCo, so he's very intimate with it. We also do a show called ARG Sinclair, which is based around the ZX Sinclair Spectrum. And so this is the latest show that we've added to our repertoire. I'm real excited about it, and really the way it came about was twofold. The fact that I love the CoCo, and Boat was interested in it, and then secondly, I just happened to have picked up this CoCo 3. Well, I didn't I bought it. I knew what I was getting, but with the SD card solution, I think it's called the SDC. It's a snap. And you don't have to. It's so much simpler. My God, as a kid, I couldn't have envisioned a setup like this in my most fevered dream. It would have blown my mind. So, with all that going for us, we just said, heck with it. Let's go ahead and let's do it. And so here we are. So we're hoping people dig it, and we're hoping to introduce a lot of people to the CoCo. I've just dipped my toe in the the online media producing CoCo community, but they're a real nice bunch, and I hope we'll be accepted and the people have just fun. We run a real easy going ship, man. We're just having a good time. I mean, we're not really reviewing this stuff. We're just looking at it, and for Boat, here's a guy who's never played a CoCo in his life until I introduced him to it. He has a real open mind. He's an old 8-bit guy himself, and so dadgummit, I thought I was gonna make it. And so we have a good time playing this stuff, and I can say he was real impressed with this particular game. It blew his mind, and he's not a Popeye fan, but just the fact that it was able to be done was quite astounding to him. And I'll admit that maybe this was sort of a ringer to pick for the first episode, but it's a game that I just remembered fondly, and I thought, let's go with something that I'm familiar with, and that was I remember being a whole ton of fun. And so this is the one I went for. The other game, which I'll probably end up doing a playthrough as well, was Poltergeist, which is another game. I didn't play it all that much, but I did have a cup of coffee with it back in the day, and in the movie it really freaked me out. So if you're into those two games, I guess it's the October 2019 episode 1 of the CoCo Show is your cup of tea. So we're actually in a pretty good game here. I'm glad I have survived long enough to get back to the 3rd level here. So I've seen some playthroughs of this on YouTube, but they're not very extensive. And so I wanted to definitely include the options. The options menu. Well, I barely got there, didn't I, guys? So I think that's the ball game. I like how Popeye pops his little head out. Now you'll notice, since I'm running this on the SD solution, that the high score menu, the high score save is weird looking, and I don't know why that is. I've noticed a couple people talk about it, so I'm going to type my name in here. Let's see here. Let's go back. Okay, A-A-R-O-N, and then. Now, and I love this. You can see I screwed up my other name. Wow. Now, because I just started doing this, if you hit S, it will save your scores, which is great. So now that we've gone through the game, let's actually go back to our menu here, just for fun, and we're gonna crank this thing up to the 9s. So instead of playing on level 4, I think you can play. I think level 9 is the highest level you can play. So we're going to try that, and I'm going to give myself a bunch of lives because I'm going to get just creamed. I like that too. Now we're going to start at the beginning to try that screen, and then when we finish this, we'll go ahead and try the invisible, which is really crazy. So we are done here. We can hit enter. Great renditions, great music in this. He really had a way with the tunes. So we'll see what Bluto or Brutus or Big Fat Bad Guy does differently than he did before. Now you're going to notice a lot more projectiles. These little smiley faces. Now right there, right out of the gate, you can see it, much like in the arcade, and this is something I wanted to touch on. You notice that Big Fat Bad Guy tilted his head up, looked at me, and then jumped. That's perfectly done. In the arcade, that's what he does. And that gives you a split second to get the heck out of there. That's all it does. And so, see, he was looking at me now, so he's watching you. He knows where you're at, and he's going to try to get you. So what you see, he's real tough. Of course, we're on the highest level here. I'm going to eat the spinach here, knock him down, and see if I can survive a little bit longer to show you some of the other things that he can do. But those are little things that you only would know if you played the arcade game for any length of time. I mean, there you go. They're important. I mean, don't get me wrong. As the game stood at level 4, it was a quality game, a top shelf game. But this puts it over the top. I mean, this really is, because you want to play the best, closest to the arcade version you can get. And that's what you're getting. Now you see, right now, Sea-Hag is chucking empties like a machine gun. Right, in the first level, her and maybe her doppelganger would throw a couple empties. Now, see, there he is again. He's deadly from down below there, I would say. So what I'm gonna do here is, I think I can. Let me see if I can get this thing to let me go back to the main menu here. I think I can, because I want to go to another level. Whoops. Well, that's not exactly what I had in mind. Let's go ahead and just reboot it, and we'll go back in. I forgot, on these old machines, break and escape mean break and escape. So, the good thing about the CoCo SD solution here is not only does it work great, it is super quick. I mean, you know, and anyone that ever waited on a tape from back in the day knows. I mean, you're in for a while, you know, and so I love that. Now, I eventually had a disk drive, but I was on tape for quite a while on the CoCo, and so this is like a dream. I have to say. So let's go back to that. Let's go back to that menu where I was trying to go in the first place. And what we'll do is I'm not going to mess with my thing. We're going to put it on. Let's go down. Let's go up to 8. Let's try to, and we will go to screen 2. Let's go to screen 3. Let's try that. Okay, we'll try that. So level 8, screen 3. All right. Let's see how we do. Now I've not ever done this, so it'll be kind of fun. Okay, let's see what's different here. Because okay, you've got your smiley faces, you've got your twin chuckers. You can see the letters are coming out, and it's really weird. Oh man, right out of the gate. I should mention that I did say I was playing with the Wacko. The Wacko, the Ergo stick, right here. I recommend the heck out of this. I also recommend the Epix version of this stick, which is also tremendous. I own one of those as well. You've got real. Gosh, that thing's come out fast. You got the real switches in there. Now I do have a couple of the old Black Beauties, the color computer joysticks, and for those in the know, the Black Beauties were sort of not popular. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, everybody loved them. No one loved them. But once you got used to them, they were okay. They weren't the best. Eventually, Tandy came out with a much better stick, the Deluxe. And the Deluxe, man, that moved fast. The Deluxe stick had self-centering. Oh, you've got to be a real champ to get anywhere on this level. So the Deluxe sticks are still available, but they're expensive. They're very expensive. Much cheaper version was just getting these adapters. So we're going to try one more thing here before we close it up. And we've got to try, I'm going to put this down on 2, 3. Let's go 3. And we're going to start back on level 1. And we're going to try the invisible screen. You never see anybody trying this, and it's really neat. So we're going to try it. So let's give this a whirl. Now, this is a great feature. Of course, this was not in the arcade. This is you trying to navigate this game without being able to see where you're going. Incredibly difficult because this is a game that features ladders and stairs. And so you're going to be hard pressed to be able to get through and try to find everything. But we're going to give it a shot. I vaguely remember trying this back in the day. Like there, I found it. I mean, it is not easy to see it to go, but it's neat. It kind of strips the game down and lets you look at the basic elements of the game, I guess. I can't imagine if you'd have to be a real champ to actually be able to play this in Viz and on like one of the higher levels. See right here, he would have. Oh shoot, he would have toasted me. The funny thing about those double C-hags is that if they catch you in the middle of the screen, you're pretty much boned. I mean, if you whip around real quick, you might have a chance of getting those empties, but otherwise you're going to get them the bad way. Screw this, I'm going to just beat the crap out of Bluto. Let's get that going. Please don't disappear. Oh, not good. Well, I guess I'm not going to beat the crap out of anybody. He showed me. You know, a lot of people mention the Color Computer's palette. You know, if you're an old, I mean, you got to think that CoCo was a computer that was devised in the late 70s and was born in the you know early 80s and was prominent in that time period. And so having a palette of this type was not unusual, frankly. I grew up with a Tandy. Well, I had a CoCo, and eventually I graduated to a Tandy 1000 SL, and then we ended up getting a TL. And so we were Tandy the whole way. And really, PC graphics, it's not like they had busted past the CoCo in terms of a lot of what they were doing. If you had an early PC, you had those, you had monochrome or CGA graphics sometimes, and so while the color palette looks limited now, at the time, to be honest with you, I didn't really think much of it. I thought it looked really good. I've played a lot of Spectrum games from the UK, and I've played a lot of old 8-bit Atari games and stuff, and they all tend to have sort of a limited palette. I mean, some are more flexible than others, although I have to say, during our recent Taste Valley Computer Club meeting, a fellow was in there, and he was sort of giving us tips. I believe his name was Curtis. I think he's a real big deal in the community, and we appreciate you, Curtis, by the way. But he was showing us some games I'd never seen before that were very impressive. I'm really excited to play up some of these games that I've not come across in the past. Look at that. I'll be darned. I managed to get past the first level. I will say I'm the most intimate with that level. This level here will probably be the trickiest, just because of the. Hopefully you'll be able to see Wimpy and Sweet Pea and all the accoutrements that accompany it. Yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, but this is going to be tough because I know there's a hole right here, and without knowing exactly how far you can go, it's going to be treacherous. Oh, see? There you go. So, I always thought, I like every level in this game, but I always thought this was a particularly neat level, just due to the fact that they had the trampoline in there. You can actually whack Bluto while he's in midair, which I always thought was funny. It's always the whack him. I mean, you get hassled this entire game, so it's nice whenever you can, get some revenge on the guy, just for a moment. I mean, it's like Pac-Man with one Energizer, effectively, unless you get killed. But it works. Popeye, if you watch any of the old cartoons from back in the day, he spends most of his time getting the crap kicked out of him and being humiliated and beat down. I always wonder why he bothers with Olives. He keeps giving Bluto a shot, and he's a bully and a jerk, and sometimes he's abusive. He's a real jerk. So I guess she's one of those people that just can't say no. I don't know. Plus, I mentioned it on the show when they cast Shelley Duvall as Olive Oil. That was the perfect casting because she looks like Olive Oil. They did a good job with picking her. I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but the casting was. Oh, look at that! Now that's a level 3. He's doing that. Now we haven't even seen him do that before, so I'm glad we got to see that. That's unusual. So, well, I guess that's my last man. Well, I think I'm going to fold up shop here, but hey. Thanks for tagging along. I'm hoping to knock out a few of these occasionally. Now that I've got a good setup here, and be able to show some stuff to some people that probably hasn't seen it before, or at least show off some games and play them just for fun for me. I always enjoy this sort of thing. So, okay, thanks for joining me. Please check out our CoCo show again, debuting this month, and I will catch you on the flip side. Adios.